Get ready. 3 seconds to go. Start. By the beginning of the 20th century, the Indian national movement had been active in the struggle for independence from British rule for several decades. Full stop. During deal of time to imaging and planning what a free India would be like. Full stop. Under the British, they had been forced to obey rules that they had had very little role in making. Full stop. The long time experience of authoritarian rule under the colonial state convinced Indians that free India should be a democracy in which everyone should be treated equally and be allowed to participate in government. Full stop. What remained to be done then was to work out the ways in which a democratic government would be set up in India and the rules that would determine its functioning. Full stop. This was done not by one person but by a group of around 300 people who became members of the Constituent Assembly in 1946 and who met periodically for the next 3 years to write India's constitution. Full stop. Para change. These members of the Constituent Assembly had a huge task before them. Full stop. The country was made up of several different communities who spoke different languages, belonged to different religions, and had distinct cultures. Full stop. Also, when the constitution was being written, India was going through considerable turmoil. Full stop. The partition of the country into India and Pakistan was imminent, some of the princely states remained undecided about their future, and the socio-economic condition of the vast mass of people appeared dismal. Full stop. All of these issues played on the minds of the members of the Constituent Assembly as they drafted the Constitution. Full stop. They rose to the occasion and gave this country a visionary document that reflects a respect for maintaining diversity while preserving national unity. Full stop. The final document also reflects their concern for eradicating poverty through socio-economic reforms as well as emphasizing the crucial role the people can play in choosing their representatives. Full stop. Para change. Listed below are the key features of the Indian Constitution. Full stop. While reading these, keep in mind the above mentioned concerns of diversity, unity, socio-economic reform and representation that the authors of this document were grappling with. Full stop. Try and understand the ways in which they tried to balance these concerns with their commitment to transforming independent India into a strong, democratic society. Full stop. Para change. Federalism. This refers to the existence of more than one level of government in the country. Full stop. In India, we have governments at the state level and at the center. Full stop. Panchayati Raj is the third tier of government and you have read about this in your class 6th book. Full stop. We looked at the functioning of the state government in your class 7th book and this year we will read more about the central government. Full stop. Para change. The vast number of communities in India meant that a system of government needed to be devised that did not involve only persons sitting in the capital city of New Delhi and making decisions for everyone. Full stop. Instead, it was important to have another level of government in the state so that decisions could be made for that particular area. Full stop. While each state in India enjoys autonomy in exercising powers on certain issues, subjects of national concern require that all of these states follow the laws of the central government. Full stop. The constitution contains list that detail the issue that each tier of government can make laws on. Full stop. In addition, the constitution also specifies where each tier of government can get the money from for the work that it does. Full stop. Under federalism, the state are not merely agents of the federal government but draw their authority from the constitution as well. Full stop. All persons in India are governed by laws and policies made by each of these levels of government. Full stop. Parachange. Parliamentary form of government. The different tiers of government that you just read about consist of representatives who are elected by the people. Full stop. Your class 7th book began with the story of Kanta who was standing in line to vote during an election. Full stop. The Constitution of India guarantees universal adult suffrage for all citizens. Full stop. When they were making the constitution, the members of the Constituent Assembly felt that the freedom struggle had prepared the masses for universal adult suffrage and that this would help encourage a democratic mindset and break the clutches of traditional castes, class, and gender hierarchies. Full stop. This means that the people of India have a direct role in electing their representatives. Full stop. Also, every citizen of the country, irrespective of his oblique her social background, can also contest in elections. Full stop. These representatives are accountable to the people. Full stop. You will read more about why representation is crucial to democratic functioning in Unit 2 of this book. Full stop. Separation of powers. According to the Constitution, there are three organs of government. Full stop. These are the legislatures, the executive and the judiciary. Full stop. The legislature refers to our elected representatives. Full stop. The executive is a smaller group of people who are responsible for implementing laws and running the government. Full stop. The judiciary, of which you will read more in unit 3rd of this book, refers to the system of courts in this country. Full stop. In order to prevent the misuse of power by any one branch of government, the constitution says that each of these organs should exercise different powers. Full stop. Through this, each organ acts as a check on the other organs of government and this ensures the balance of power between all three. Full stop. Parachange. Fundamental rights. The section on fundamental rights has often been referred to as the conscience of Indian Constitution. Full stop. Colonial rule had created a certain suspicion of the state in the minds of the nationalists and they wanted to ensure that a set of written rights would guard against the misuse of state power in independent India. Full stop. Fundamental rights, therefore, protect citizens against the arbitrary and absolute exercise of power by the state. Full stop. The Constitution, thus, guarantees the rights of individuals against the state as well as against other individuals. Full stop. Parachange. Moreover, the various minority communities also expressed the need for the constitution to include rights that would protect their groups. Full stop. The constitution, therefore, also guarantees the rights of minorities against the majority. Full stop. As Dr. Ambedkar has said about these fundamental rights, their object is twofold. Full stop. The first objective is that every citizen must be in a position to claim those rights. Full stop. And secondly, these rights must be binding upon every authority that has got the power to make laws. Full stop. Parachange. In addition to fundamental rights, the Constitution also has a section called Directive Principles of State Policy. Full stop. This section was designed by the members of the Constituent Assembly to ensure greater social and economic reforms, and to serve as a guide to the independent Indian state to institute laws and policies that help reduce the poverty of the masses. Full stop.